Good evening. It's 6 o'clock on Thursday, May 19th. Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight for the English edition of Aura News, where we bring you today's top stories translated into English every weeknight. The Italian police have responded concerning the phone tapping equipment following the debate of Albanian institutions over the equipment, and the Italian police director sent a letter to the prosecutor general explaining that the equipment was not used for any kind of tapping and that it has always been used by the Italian police for the training of Albanian police. The letter further explains that the equipment was sent to Albania based on the agreement the two countries signed in 2007. According to the Italian police director, two specialized groups were sent from Italy to Albania on March 11th, 2016, with the aim of developing training activities for the Albanian police. He also confirms that the equipment was not used by their Albanian colleagues, but that 5 police groups of the Albanian police were trained with the equipment. According to him, the training activity was not in any violation of any law. Meanwhile, sources from the prosecution say that the investigation is continuing and that the investigative group will discover how the equipment entered Albania. The former Prime Minister, Sali Berisha, accused the Prime Minister of plunging the country into scandals and of turning Albania into a dangerous country. He also mentioned the case of Saranda's former director of transport, who was accused by the Greek police and the DEA of drug trafficking. The former Prime Minister claimed that the Albanian police was not allowed to participate in the investigation with the Greek police and DEA. Mr. Berisha also commented on the tapping issue, declaring that the Prime Minister committed a serious crime by tapping the President and the Democratic Party chairman. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister, Edi Rama, responded to the former Prime Minister, accusing him of hampering the judicial reform. The Prime Minister accused the opposition of making efforts to criminalize the majority and of being afraid of the justice reform because of their past. You do not want the justice reform. We are making reforms, you make scandals. We have made an open invitation to sit and solve the stalemate for the reform, said the Prime Minister, who accused the opposition of turning the President into a DP chairman who defends corrupt judges. The President declared his outrage over the Prime Minister's statement, stating that it is not appropriate to offend the President of the Republic when he is not present. According to the President, the Prime Minister is using Parliament to offend the President and to slander against him. The President asked the Prime Minister to leave the show behind and urgently removed the incriminated from the public administration, to fight the organized crime, to offer health service, and to the citizens to fight corruption and not to block the justice reform, but to offer the necessary compromises for its adoption. The Socialist MP MP Blushi publicly announced during a parliamentary meeting that he had not received a threatening, or that he had received a threatening text message from the mayor of Kavaja. Mr. Blushi read the message from the parliament podium and accused the Prime Minister of surrounding himself with people incapable of performing their civil duties. MP Blushi asked for a response from the Prime Minister, who remained silent. However, the Socialist MP insisted on a response from the Prime Minister, calling him a coward for not reacting to the subject. As different MPs reacted to the threatening message, the opposition MPs also asked the Prime Minister to respond. The head of the Party for Justice, Integration and Unity called the Assembly Speaker to gather the Bureau of Parliament and the Conference of Chairmen over the matter. After the Prime Minister was asked again to respond by the head of the Democratic Parliamentary Group, the Kavaja Mayor admitted he had sent the message. He then apologized for the language used, admitting that it was not appropriate. He stated in his apology that it was not for Blushi, but rather for the citizens who had voted for him. He went on to say that he did it because he was tired of all the slandering made against him. The mayor also wrote on his social network, "We are used to slanders made by the Democratic Party, but I would have never imagined that I would hear Ben Blushi speaking like Sali Berisha. This is the reason I broke the communication ethics. It is inexcusable, but I am human just like the others." A report of the Ombudsman has discovered shocking facts concerning the mistreatment, violence, and abuse of minors at the Shkoder orphanage. According to the Ombudsman's report, the abuses were made on the premises of the orphanage and during excursions. The report first states that the former director of the orphanage took the children on an excursion where she was violent with the orphanage children and abused the minor girls. Secondly, the report states that minors ages 10 to 12 years of age were obligated to wash the toilets of the institution, an action that is against point 3 of Article 54 of the Constitution. Thirdly, the report states that an orphanage employee beat one minor with the wooden leg of a chair. The Ombudsman declared that the signal for this case was given by a monitoring center which monitored the institution on April 11th of this year. 3 similar events in state social care institutions have been reported in the matter of a year. Though the testing of the employees and the appointment of the directors of these institutions does not seem to be effective, the Ministry of Social Welfare also warns about merging these institutions. The abuses have caused the children trauma, and the psychologist recommends that these children be given specialized help in order to overcome these shocking situations. The Administrative Appellate Court postponed reviewing the case to exclude the judging bodies over the issue of the 17-story building in wait to be built at the lake area. The court decided to review the requests on May 25th. The National Inspectorate for the Protection of Territory and the State Lawyer's Office filed another request with City Hall, causing the postponement. The 3 institutions are asking for the exclusion of review judges for the case to construct a building near the dam at the lake area, claiming conflict of interest. Tirana's vice mayor declared today that the judges are in clear conflict of interest, claiming that the judge is the cousin of one of the owners of the company that will construct the building. Due to these conditions, the court has postponed the session. Yesterday, the court rejected 3 of the requests filed by the institutions. Consequently, they were filed again today. The Vice President of the European Parliament participated today in a forum organized for the rights of the LGBTI community. She appealed for their inclusion in political programs and to stop the discrimination against them. We should not be prejudiced against the LGBTI community. Their inclusion in politics is important. The LGBTI community should be applauded for their courage. I do not see any problem for their inclusion in political programs. There should not be negative prejudice towards the community. No one should judge another based on their sexual orientation. They have their rights. We should not be afraid of our orientation. We should live our life without fear. We in the European Parliament support the idea that the LGBTI community should have equal rights. They should not be discriminated against. Political parties should not be afraid to include them in politics. And society has changed. I'm seeing progress in the Albanian society, she said. Both the Socialist and Democrat MPs present in the activity offered support and respect of the rights of the LGBTI community, but a Democrat MP emphasized that Albania is not yet ready to accept same-gender marriage. That's all for our English edition this evening. Please join us again Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. for your local news in English. My name is Mari, and on behalf of Oren News, thank you and good night.